There was a time when Sean Payton was on top of the NFL world, a Super Bowl winning coach for the New Orleans Saints. With a 152-89 record and 9 playoff wins, Sean Payton was considered one of the top coaches in the NFL. After retiring in 2021 on his own terms, fans were shocked to see him go. "It was time," Payton said when asked about his reasonings. So how did one of the most widely respected coaches go from consistent winning seasons and battling for playoff spots to getting 70 points and 700 yards dropped on him and becoming the laughingstock of the NFL? During his retirement press conference, Sean mentioned that his coaching career might not be completely over, but he wanted to spend time with his kids and focus more on a healthy lifestyle. Naturally, as soon as head coaching jobs come up in the coming years, Payton's name would be tied to the openings. But there were a lot of opportunities for the 57-year-old coach to consider. There were rumors about joining a TV network, and the payday was enough to draw Payton to Fox Sports in 2022 as an NFL analyst. But most people surrounding the NFL knew that this did not seem like a long-term stop for Payton. Head coaches of a professional sport are different breeds, and they can't sit still for too long if they still have those coaching juices running through their veins. Payton later talks about how he was waiting for the exact right opportunity with the roster, front office, and team culture already in place to continue a winning culture. He had no problem waiting until he felt completely comfortable with the position he would be getting into. In March 2022, a series of events would eventually lead Payton to his next coaching job. The Denver Broncos traded away the farm to acquire Russell Wilson, including 5 draft picks, 2 firsts, 2 2 1 fifth, and 2 players. Denver had an impressive defense during the 2021 season with some younger players in Patrick Surtain and Justin Simmons, and acquiring the former Super Bowl champion quarterback created a lot of buzz in Denver. Unfortunately, all the buildup over the offseason came crashing down once the season started. Newly acquired head coach Nathaniel Hackett had some troubles with clock management in his first game, wasting away almost a full minute of clock in one play, and put his field goal kicker in a spot to hit the game winner in the final seconds. The only problem? The field goal attempt was 64 yards and would have been the second longest field goal in history. Even worse, Hackett sat on all 3 of his team's timeouts, instead of calling one to talk with his quarterback and staff about the plan. Fans nationwide, including Peyton Manning, could not believe what they saw. The disaster in the season's first game was a good gauge for how the rest of the season would go, and the Broncos would end with a 5-12 season. Hackett didn't even make it to the end of the season, and after the team's game on Christmas, he was fired. A lot of blame for the team's poor performance was placed on Hackett's shoulders, but Wilson didn't look like the Hall of Fame player most people were so accustomed to seeing, and the team's spirit was never able to recover after such a rocky start. There were a lot of names floated around for the Denver Broncos opening position, including Dan Quinn, Eric Bieniemy, DeMeco Ryans, and the former Saints coach Sean Payton. Payton was especially attractive because of his past relationship with future Hall of Famer Drew Brees. Drew was one of the top quarterbacks in the league during his tenure with the Saints, and the thought was Payton can do the same thing with Russell Wilson. The Broncos had to send a first and second rounder to the Saints for his rights, but on January 31st, 2023, Sean Payton was hired as the next head coach of the Denver Broncos. And right away, he made it known that things would change. Payton is known for having little tolerance for distractions and is very blunt with handling things. As a Fox Sports analyst, he took shots at the Broncos organization and how things seemed to be running poorly. He doubled down on these comments by making a very strong statement about the previous coach, Nathaniel Hackett, calling the 2022 Broncos the worst coaching job in the league's history. He ripped the organization for allowing Russell Wilson lots of benefits, including his own office and a personal trainer in the building. Luke G seemed to echo these comments later that same week. "I have no absolute clue how to do anything. I struggle with getting my big boy pants on in the morning, let alone doing anything productive. Might be due to all the CTE and broken wrists I have." Payton has come out and apologized to Hackett and the Jets and says he regretted making the comments, claiming, "It was one of those times where I was wearing my Fox Sports analyst hat and not my coaching hat." But the damage was already done. Aaron Rodgers was asked about the comment, to which he replied, "I think he needs to keep my coach's name out of his mouth." By breaking the unwritten rule of the NFL and not only calling out another coach but going as extreme as he did, Payton seemed to bite off more than he could chew. The Broncos faced the Chicago Bears this past week in a battle between 2 unbeaten teams, which most people would agree were the worst in the league. The Broncos overcame a 21-point deficit to win the game, but that doesn't change the fact that this is not the team fans expected to see on the field. Sitting at 1-3 going into Week 5, the schedule doesn't look promising with the Vikings, Bills, and the Chiefs, twice, all crammed into the next 5 weeks. So what is the issue here? Why can't this team find a tiny bit of momentum? A lot of the blame is being placed squarely on Sean Payton's shoulders. Reasonably. So, how can you make comments tearing down the previous coach's performance but then have a worse start than him? By Week 5 in 2022, Hackett's Broncos were 2-2, and there were promising sights on the defensive side of the ball. Maybe Payton was too overconfident in his abilities to turn a roster around, or maybe he placed too much faith in an aging Russell Wilson. But Wilson's mediocre performance doesn't have anything to do with the Dolphins putting up a near NFL record 70 points and 700-plus yards against the Broncos D. Perhaps the stress and pressure of picking the franchise up from the ashes is affecting Payton more than he thought. Russell Wilson is not completely blameless, though. The Broncos had to give up a fortune to acquire the quarterback and then gave him a 5-year, $245 million extension before he even took a single snap in a game. Hoping to see the Pro Bowl quarterback return to his Seahawk days, fans have been very underwhelmed. But are fans expecting too much? Mobile quarterbacks don't last long. They never have. They are so fun to watch and very dynamic on the field, but getting hit repeatedly doesn't do great for a quarterback's NFL life. Wilson is 34 years old, and the organization can't expect him to be running around like he did in Seattle as a younger player. That is what made Wilson so special. He can play off script, escape the pocket, and still deliver accurate throws. When you remove that escape artist X factor, the game becomes more focused on your decision-making and ability to see the whole field from the pocket. The game changes drastically when defenses don't have to worry about containment. Seeing this team performing the way they are doesn't make sense. They have plenty of weapons on offense, including Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, and Javonte Williams. The defense has playmakers with Justin Simmons, Randy Gregory, Patrick Surtain, and more. The pieces seem to be in place, but the puzzle still looks very messy. If anything, this shows people how important coaching and schemes can be. If you have all the right pieces, you must figure out how to assemble them. Maybe the Broncos will use the win against the Bears to stockpile momentum and figure out how to win going forward in the season. Sean Payton is a good coach, but that doesn't mean anything if it doesn't show on the field. The season is far from over, but the Broncos don't have much time left to try and turn this around before they start losing support from their fan base or maybe even ownership. Lucas and Connery have about had enough and are looking to hop aboard the Patriots' slow-moving wagon. So what do you think is the problem? What should the Broncos' first move be? If the losing continues, is Coach Payton on the hot seat? Let us know what you think in the comments and subscribe so you don't miss all our new videos.